Everybody knows what the European Union is. And everybody knows how the EU works, right? Well, a lot of people actually don't. But before we explain, we will give a brief history of how the EU became like it is today. After the Second World War, many people and politicians wanted to ensure that something horrible as had just happened would never happen again. Therefore, in 1951, Italy, Spain, France, the Benelux countries, the Netherlands, Belgium and Luxembourg, and West Germany together signed the Treaty of Paris, creating the European Coal and Steel Community. Later on, in the 50s, two more committees were added, the European Economic Community and the European Atomic Energy Community. In the 70s and 80s, more and more countries also started to join these communities, when in 1993 they were all fused into one organization, the European Union. So, now that we found out about how it started, how does the EU actually work? Well, there are a lot of different political groups from all the countries that have formed the political parties represented in the European Parliament in the EU, one of the organs inside it. These political groups are like the Greens, the Nationalists, the Liberals and the Socialists. The EU Parliament has quite an important role within the EU, but actually more important roles are executed by three other major institutions: the EU Council, the EU Commission and the Council of Ministers. The European Council consists of the head of government of the Union's member states and the President of the European Commission. They meet each other twice a year and this meeting is called an EU Summit. During these meetings, the leaders will discuss what the outline and plan of action will be for the EU in the next 6 months. In the best case scenario, however, they will proclaim guidelines, as they have no real legislative powers. However, these meetings also often result in fierce negotiations between the leaders, as in the end, every leader wants the best for his or her country, and that's also where these leaders are judged on in their home countries, so you can't even blame them. The European Commission consists of one commissioner from each member state, and each other country proposes commissioners for the different departments, and the President then appoints each commissioner a department. The Commission is the only organ in the EU that may propose new laws, which will be heard, altered, approved or disapproved by the Council of Ministers and the EU Parliament. The Council of Ministers consists of the ministers of the member states of a certain department, and therefore the members of this council differ depending on the department the law belongs to. The EU Parliament is the sole organ which employees are directly elected by the EU citizens. Its most important task is legislation. Currently, it can, however, vote on 1/3 of the laws. Further roles of the Parliament are checking on the Commission and starting investigations or even firing them when they think it is necessary because they do not work properly. People expect that the Parliament will eventually gain more power, but this depends on the people of the EU too, because if the people don't vote for Parliament, it of course loses its influence and power, and that's why it is important to vote.
Created using Powtoon.